Good morning and happy Tuesday. Welcome to this episode of Mizzou Daily. Of course, as you can tell, we are starting off with some injury news, unfortunately. But yeah, not great. We're going to see who can step up in his place. Promises injury shouldn't be as worse as the Josh Atkins one. That's, of course, the right tackle. And then as well, looking at Caleb Green. If you're looking at that name and you're like, that's not how you spell it. Well, it is. It's Caden Green's younger brother. Going to take a little about his recruiting, what that's looking like, kind of the chances of him being a Missouri Tiger, and then as well going to finish off with Kevin Coleman Jr., one of the star wide receivers for Mizzou last season, getting some looks from the Kansas City Chiefs, and there's a lot of Mizzou people who are also Chiefs fans, so got to keep an eye on those kind of things. First things first, let's start off with Elijah Dodson. We talked about kind of a decent amount about how he's probably going to be one of the starting safeties along with Santana Banner and Trajan Greco or Kensley Louder Foston. That's kind of the battle there is between those two for that last safety position. But Elijah Dodson was making some really really good news in camp, making some great plays in camp. Coach Drink said that he's basically been a stud all of camp. So a big miss here. He had surgery on a torn labrum recently. His report that came out from On3 is expected to be fully back for summer OTAs. So let's not sound the alarms. Fully back for summer OTAs, but a torn labrum kind of depends on the severity of it and kind of what happens there. Of course, it's a shoulder injury for a safety who is usually hitting with his shoulder. Is not great. Not that any injury is great, but specifically for a safety, getting those torn labrums, it's like, especially in like when quarterbacks get that in their throwing arms, wide receivers, when they're going up to catch balls, and Elijah Dodson being a safety, trying to make those interceptions, also leading a lot of his hits with his shoulder. Definitely not great news, but expected to be back for summer OTAs. But yeah, we'll take that with a bit of we'll see what happens because we don't really have the full details on exactly, the grade and all that kind of stuff, but he definitely did undergo successful surgery on a torn labrum. He's definitely kind of been a leader in the secondary besides Santana Banner kind of entering this year. Out of Belleville, if that school, that's where Bryce Underwood went, and he went to Michigan. So the two of them, very, very strong. A top 100 player out of the class of 2025, and he's 6'1" and 192 pounds. Played at Michigan last season, 94 total snaps. Played outside corner and slot corner, as well as a little bit of safety. 11 tackles and an interception as a true freshman. That's incredibly impressive. True freshman putting up those numbers, especially in the safety position. And Coach Drinkwitz did say that Elijah Dodson has been really good for us in the secondary earlier on in the spring. So, yeah, just something to keep your eyes on. But yeah. Okay, Coach Drinkwitz basically said there's been a lot of great transfers, Caden Lee, so-and-so, but I think Elijah Dodson has been really, really good for us in the secondary. He said that multiple times. So it's going to be a bit of a loss. He's 6'1", 6'2", give or take an inch here or there, but fully back for summer OTAs is what they are expecting. Those 11 tackles, 1 interception across 12 games, playing, just about 100 snaps. So it's interesting to kind of look at what that safety room is going to look like now. We talked a lot about Chris Graves Jr., the corner. He's going to have a big impact in the secondary, being a shutdown corner. Santana Banner being a safety. We dove into a lot of those corners, Jaleel Florence, in some recent episodes, but definitely the safety position we talked about as well, with Trajan Greco and Kensley Louder Foston being up for that kind of third safety role, with it's looking like Elijah Dodson and Santana Banner will be the other two. But now, with Dodson going down till potentially summer OTAs, what does this kind of look like for some other guys? So we got some other names to look at. Like we said, it's kind of the offseason, so we're going to look into a lot of guys. So Jadon Blair, 6'5", 205 as a safety. You don't see many safeties that are 6'5", 205. He went to Notre Dame. Who else went to Notre Dame that was a very tall safety? Kyle Hamilton, not saying they're the same guy in the slightest, but it's just something you of course take a note of. He only played in one game last season, notched an assisted tackle against Syracuse. He's coming in as a redshirt freshman, only played in the one game, so he has that eligibility there. Was a 4-star safety, a top 3 recruit in the state of North Carolina, coming out, and of course went to Notre Dame last year and is now going to be a Missouri Tiger. So Jaden Blair, a name to look out for. CJ Bass III had 4 tackles and a pass defended as a freshman at Mizzou last year. He is 6'2", 209. And then another guy to look at is Jackson Hancock, 6 foot, 196. He spent the last 2 years at Mizzou. He actually has a decent amount of experience. He played in all 12 regular season games last season, just 3 tackles, 2 of those being solo. All of his tackles did come in the Central Arkansas game, which was the first game of the season, but he did play in 12 games, so there's something to be said about that experience and playing in that core Bethune defense. He also did play in 1 game in 2024 against Murray State, so experience there. Not a lot of it, but there is some, so, it's better than none, but I think that hopefully Elijah Dodson comes back fully healthy in the summer and is fully ready for fall. But that remains to be seen, and of course we'll keep you updated on that situation. But let's talk about Caleb Green, brother of Caden Green. They're not the same person, Caden and Caleb. But yeah, Caleb Green is a linebacker actually. He's looking like he could be a Missouri Tiger. He has very, very strong kind of stats. 6'1", 215, had 145 tackles, 14 of those being for loss, and 2.5 sacks in his junior season. In high school, you don't play that many games. That's like almost 14.5 tackles per game, give or take. A little closer to 12 with all the games he played, but that's a lot. That's a lot of tackle. That's a lot of hitting. So the guys, he's not the same size as his brother, that's for sure, but something to definitely look at there. And he basically went on his visit. He basically said that it was great to see Caden in action, and Coach Derek Nicholson watching the practice intensity, how he coached the linebackers is really impressive. Reminds me of my head coach. He coaches really hard, kind of old school, very intense, very loud. Coming to practice at 6 a.m. every day, and him being loud is going to wake you up. So, yeah, kind of setting the tone. You like to see that kind of thing, and he basically really likes Missouri. He says, I really love it. It's close to home, the highest level you can possibly play at, and they took a chance on me, so I love it. He also did visit Iowa State and is planning to visit Missouri State, and he has an official visit set with Liberty. But his recruiting is skyrocketing. That's kind of what a lot of the kind of scouts and analysts were saying, that basically it's rising and rising and rising and rising and rising. It was immediate eye-catching with all the drills. Incredibly athletic, 6 foot 210, sideline to sideline range, plenty of lower body explosiveness. Basically, no running backs got past him in the linebacker running back 1v1's Oklahoma drill, if you're not familiar there. And so, yeah, it's definitely interesting to look at. Only has an official visit set up to Liberty currently, but you got to think that if Mizzou goes all in on him, he's going to be a Missouri Tiger. I don't know why he wouldn't be. So, be cool to have. Probably won't ever have both Greens there at the same time, but one right after another. So, you know how well Caden Green's been, so I might as well take that shot on Caleb. And he's definitely, stock is 100% rising. So, he was actually at Mizzou early on in March, and he actually had an MVP honors in that Under Armour camp that we were talking about a couple weekends ago. Finishing up today's episode, talking a little bit about Kevin Coleman Jr. When players go to the Chiefs like Nick Bolton, it's definitely a story when Mizzou guy goes to Kansas City. But Kevin Coleman Jr. is expected to kind of meet and visit with the Kansas City Chiefs. It won't probably be a top 30 visit, but we'll see what it looks like. He's been all over the place. Basically, he actually graduated high school with offers from Alabama, and actually went to Jackson State as a true freshman. Had 475 yards and 3 touchdowns. Was the SWAC freshman of the year. Then he hit Louisville, and then he hit Mississippi State, and then of course finished up at Mizzou. So he's been all over the place in the SEC for his last 2 years. His Mississippi State season in 2024 was probably his most productive. It was his most productive. 74 catches for 932 yards and 6 touchdowns. Pretty incredible numbers there. At Mizzou this past year, 66 catches for 732 yards and a touchdown. He also did return a punt for a touchdown for the Tigers, if you guys remember that. So that's pretty sweet. Kevin Coleman averaged about 8 yards on his 57 punt returns. Did score that lone touchdown for Mizzou in 2025 on a punt return, or had a receiving touchdown, also a punt return touchdown. That was the one of his college career, the punt return touchdown, of course. And his 40 speed is somewhere in between 4.38 and 4.4. He ran it at the pro day. It's stopwatch time, so it's not an official time. But yeah, it's pretty interesting stuff. You like to see those wide receivers getting those looks, and Kevin Coleman Jr. stock's been rising just due to those performances, and he's a very twitchy kind of slot guy. So not a lot of those currently in the NFL. So you like to see that kind of breed come back, and Caden Lee's hopefully going to be doing that for Mizzou. And then one last note, not on football at all, some pretty sweet news kind of about Mizzou. I don't know if you guys have heard, but the Mizzou volleyball team is going to be playing against Nebraska at Wrigley Field. So something I thought was pretty cool. I was like, whoa, Mizzou volleyball. Nebraska is pretty known for their volleyball program, but at Wrigley Field is going to be awesome, and it'll be a cool atmosphere. So yeah, just capping off the show on a good note. But that'll do it for today's episode. MIZ.